Hey, before we grab your Bibles out, we're looking for the Gospel of Luke. If you want to get it open, chapter 14. Don't read ahead yet, because something I want to sow into your minds before we read the Gospel. I decided in my preparation for this sermon this week to do some research on what the difference between an ideology is as opposed to a religion. And then what's a religion as opposed to, say, faith, and then etc., etc. The more I kind of researched the difference, I started to see that ideology and philosophy and religion, there's overlap between them all, but what kind of unites them all is the idea that whatever you believe, how you practice it, is based around a human tradition or around a human exercising of a belief. It was all about the idea that human beings create. So if you have an ideology, it's something that you believe, and then you've created or you've participated in what someone else has created in terms of practice, religious rite, that sort of thing. And if it's a religion, it was very much about the idea that you subscribe again to, I guess, a moral or a physical practice of a set of belief systems. Anyway, so I went on this bit of a strange kind of journey about trying to figure out, and the reason why I was doing this is because I was trying to figure out what it is that we say about being Christians. Because to me there's this real confrontation, because the world says Christianity is a religion, doesn't it? And there may be people here who say that they're religious, and we fill out a census that says, what religion are you? You've got to write Anglican or Baptist or Catholic, whatever it is. But by its very definition, Christian people are not religious. In fact, we can't be religious. If we're religious, we actually miss the whole point. And we can't be an ideology, because if we say we're an ideology, we've actually lost completely our faith. And so we can't say that we're even a belief system. Like, have you ever heard really super spiritual people say, well, I'm a believer? To say that, you've actually missed the point as well, because we are not defined by a belief system. We're defined by something very different. Now, what is that? And I want to read to you a quote, because I think this quote is great. For those of you who are not fans, this might surprise you. This quote comes from Pope Francis. The faith passes, so to speak, through a distiller and becomes an ideology. And an ideology does not beckon people. In ideologies, there is no Jesus. In his tenderness, his love, or his meekness. And ideologies are rigid, always, of every sign rigid. And when a Christian becomes a disciple of ideology, he has lost his faith. He is no longer a disciple of Jesus. He is a disciple of this attitude of thought. For this reason, Jesus said to them, you have taken away the key of knowledge. The knowledge of Jesus is transformed into an ideological and a moralistic knowledge, because they close the door with its many requirements. Now, if I lost you because there's too many big words, I'm going to break it down, okay? What he's saying is very simple. The moment we make Christianity a series of religious rites, of observances, the moment we make it about a man-made structure of control, we lose, and moralistic, we lose its very essence, because at its very heart, Christianity is about Jesus. Okay, I want to do an exercise. Right, Liam, come up here, buddy. I love doing this to Liam because, he's got a great sense of humour. Right, Liam, now, okay, you're going to follow me. You're going to do whatever I do. You ready? Okay. Did you do it? Did you follow recording? Oh, excellent. All right, here we go. Did he do everything he's told? Yeah. Right, come on down here. All right, now Liam, you're going to do the same, I'm going to follow. Okay? You ready? Go. Keep going. Keep going, that's good, I'm following. No, keep going. You gotta do something more creative, it's a bit boring. Come on, keep going, I'm following. Oh, he's giving up. Give another clap, well done, man. You see, Christianity, by every definition that's true, is that we are followers of Jesus. So do you notice when I asked Liam to follow me, he did? He did what I said to do, right? Now, if we say we're followers of Jesus, okay, if we say we're Christians, but we don't agree with his teaching, we don't follow his teaching, and we don't do what he does, then in fact, we're paying lip service and we're not Christians at all. Because to be a Christian means to be a disciple, a follower of Christ. Let's open our Bibles. We're looking for Luke chapter 14. Large crowds were travelling with Jesus, and turning to them he said, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate his father and mother, his wife and children, his brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. And anyone who does not carry his cross and follow me cannot be my disciple." Wow, did I just hear that right? Are Christians people that hate their mother and father, their sister and their brother? No, of course not. Jesus wanted to confront us with the great contradiction that most of us live with. And that is that with our mouths, we say, "I'm a follower of Christ." But by our actions, by the way we think, by the way we behave, we do the opposite. So Jesus says, it should be so self-evident of the world around you that you're a Christian, that should any compromise cause you to stray from your faith, you would reject it. So even if your mother should call you to deny your faith, your love for God is so much greater that you would choose to hate your mother. Now, hate in this context is action. It's not. It's verb-based. So it's about choosing action. Okay. It's not about hate as an attitude of the heart. I went down to the shops the other day and I was waiting in a line and said, I hate waiting in lines. I literally don't hate a line. A line can't be hated. It's just a line. But I can hate being in a line. Do you see what I'm saying? So to hate your mother and father is to say, I would choose God over my mother and father, brother and sister. Now, that should confront us greatly, and it certainly confronts me, because what he's asking of me to do is put God ahead of my family. Now, a lot of people come really unstuck with that because they misunderstand what that means. Let me tell you what it really means. It doesn't mean saying to my family, you know what, go jump in the lake because I've got to follow God, so I'm going to become a missionary and leave you all over here. It's not what it means. It means I'm going to raise my family the way God asks me to raise my family, to teach my children the ways of God. I am going to prioritise the things of God in my life, and I'm going to be the kind of father that God calls me, the kind of husband that God calls me to be. That is putting God first. Does that make sense? Clear as mud? Okay. Alright, it gets better if you're still stuck. Okay, let's read on. So we're looking at verse 28. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Will he not first sit down and estimate the cost to see if he has enough money to complete it? For if he lays the foundation and is not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule him, saying, "This fellow began to build and was not able to finish." Or suppose a king is about to go to war against another king. Will he not first sit down and consider whether he is able with 10,000 men to oppose the one coming against him with 20,000? If he is not able, he will send a delegation while the other is still a long way off and will ask for terms of peace. In the same way, any of you who does not give up everything he has cannot be my disciple. Oh. You know, who here is uncomfortable hearing this? Because we should be. I am. Give up everything if you want to be a disciple. Okay, I want to break it down and make it as perfectly simple as possible. Who here by their own strength, by their own capacity, by their own will, their own choices, can please God completely by the way they live and the things they do. Who here is going to earn their own salvation? Who here is by their own efforts going to get to heaven? Right, none of us. So in fact, to give all that up so as to gain God and to gain salvation is a no-brainer. Because if I give up the stuff that's not working, the stuff that isn't bringing me salvation, the stuff that doesn't lead me to God, to take up the salvation of Jesus, then I've gained everything. So, next time you choose between your mortgage and your faith, what a catastrophic mistake that is. Can your mortgage get you to heaven? No, I cannot. The next time we choose to go to the rugby at the expense of our faith, what a catastrophic mistake, because the rugby will not get us to heaven. That's a silly example. I should have said Lego and rugby. Verse 34. Salt is good, but if it loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is fit neither for the soil nor for the manure pile, it is thrown out. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. Do you know, when I was I was 18, if my memory serves me right, I decided I wanted to learn the guitar. And at the time, I was kind of a romantic idea, but I was really energised about this. This is kind of this. I'd never grown up learning any instruments. My family was very sport orientated, so all they did was sport. And I wanted to, express some sort of creativity from within myself. I wasn't an artist. So I decided to play guitar, but I had a problem. I discovered that a new guitar was going to cost about $500. I didn't have $500. I discovered, because I asked around, I said, can you teach me? And everyone said, nah, you've got to pay for lessons. And anyway, I was really committed to this. I counted the cost, so I went and I saved up with my job and I bought my guitar, and I decided not to have lessons. I decided to teach myself, which was a big mistake at the time, but I didn't know that. And I didn't know that what it was going to cost me was 5 very calloused fingers, which no longer had much feeling in the end. And I had no idea that it was going to cost me the stretching of my fingers. My fingers had to learn how to do things they never had to do before. And I had no idea how many hours upon hours upon hours upon hours of practice it would take to learn how to play guitar. But the fruit of that cost is that I get to play this beautiful instrument that brings me joy and happiness. And I even get to play in church until someone better comes along and I retire again. The point is this. There is a cost to learning guitar. And anyone who gets a romantic idea about learning it will quickly discover that it is a cost. But it's worth it, in my opinion. Okay, Jesus says, count the cost. If you're going to live the Christian life, it is going to have a cost and a price. Now, this is a particularly unpopular idea in our modern world. Our Christianity should serve us, right? Isn't it about me? Isn't my faith about what I get out of it? Isn't church about what I get out of it? Isn't being a Christian all about me feeling better about myself, better about my world, and knowing that God's always with me, and when I have trouble, I've got someone to pray to? That's how we think today. But that's not Christianity. That's ideology. That's religion. That's not Christianity. I love Pope Francis again on this, because he says the difference between ideology and Christianity is found in prayer. And when I first heard that, I thought, what does that mean? I suddenly realised Christian prayer is actually us spending time in God's presence. Here I am, Lord, it's just me. This is what's going on in my life right now. It's spending that quality time with Him. It's the relationship. That's the difference. And so how many of us as Christians, our connection to God is not a connection at all. It's actually a belief system, an ideology. That's not Christianity. That's not what it's about. And we do this thing where we say, I'm a Christian, but I don't like this part of it, so I don't really follow that. Throw that bit out. I know that we're supposed to believe the Bible, but I actually don't agree with it, so I don't follow it. That's not Christianity. That's your own created religion. By definition, literally, that's your own created religion. Because to be a Christian is to be a follower Jesus. Pure and simple. Beginning, end. A follower of Jesus. That's why Jesus is the central figure. And what he says and what he teaches is so precious and important to Christian people. I love hearing that so real story of from coming from out there to in here. And did you notice there was a cost? That it resulted in a confrontation between the way they lived their life and the gospel, and it was a journey of transformation over time, and there was a 5 year sort of transformation. You know, that's the grace and beauty of our God, is that he moves with us at our pace that we can handle, but he never leaves us in a place of comfort. If you're a Christian because it makes you feel comfortable, I would challenge that place and say, I'm not sure you're following Christianity, because to follow Jesus should never be particularly comfortable. It's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, and it's going to confront your beliefs. It's going to confront the way you live your life, because that's the call of the gospel. And counting the cost of that, there's no point. I mean, we might as well walk out this door today and not come back to church if we think we want our belief system, our faith, our following of Jesus to serve us. Because the truth is, the two great commands, to love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, strength, and to love your neighbour as yourself, require us to serve others. Require us, it will cost us our money. I'm stunned when people say to me they don't give in church because church is all about money. Giving in church has nothing to do with giving to the church, it's about giving to God. It will cost us because the mission of God we're invited into. That's why we put our hands in our pockets. They're gifts of people. You know, whether you're a musician or whether you're a reader or whatever you might be, maybe you're an evangelist, maybe you're somebody who likes to get in and do, God will ask that of you. It will cost you. God will ask your time, your money, your gifts, your talents. He will ask that of you. And he will require you to respond, because if you don't, we're the ones who lose. And so the call to discipleship comes at cost. Jesus said, take up your cross and follow me. What he meant by that was lay down your selfish ambition and take up God's ambition.
Our studies are written by pastors and teachers actively growing their local church. These studies have been a blessing to churches across many denominations and around Australia. These 7-week practical studies are designed to meet people in their everyday lives and encourage them to grow in faith. Our prayer is that you or your church will be blessed by growing in relationship with our God through studying His Word. You can purchase these studies individually or for groups online.